Howdy there, folks. I'm Quinn of Snazzy Labs, and this is What's on My iPad. Now, I did a What's on My iPhone video a couple of weeks ago, and so many of you got so curious as to what I had on my iPad that I decided to make a video. So let's begin. As we slide to unlock, we can see all of my applications. I have Messages, Calendar, and YouTube. None of these are foreign to any of you. If we click the YouTube one, we can see that I do have all of my subscriptions here. I don't watch a ton of technology reviewers, to be 100% honest with you. And to be frank, I don't even watch that much YouTube. In fact, I probably make more videos than I watch videos, which I know is not probably for most of you, but it's what I do. I watch very, very, very few videos. However, I do want to show you what I do watch. There's about 25 tech reviewers, maybe not 25, a couple less, but there's about 25 people that I'm subscribed to on YouTube, and most of them are technology reviewers. I mean, there's exceptions like Deckhand Davy or Strugs Not Drugs or Bill TV Macon, but I'd say the majority of people that I am sub to are technology reviewers. And why do I choose to watch YouTube videos on my iPad? Well, the iPad 3 is quite simply the best display I have in my house. It's better than my MacBook, it's better than TV, it's just ever so slightly better than my Galaxy Note, and the iPhone is too small for me to want to watch videos on. So I use the iPad because it's portable. My iMac is always stationary, and my MacBook is always stationary, so I'm not really using those around the house. So when I do watch videos, I choose to do it on the iPad. Now, as for actual administrating, I do all of that on my Mac. There is some that I do on the iPad, but I always do it reluctantly because from this main YouTube app, you cannot manage anything. I can't reply to comments. I can't change video titles. I can't select monetization. I have very, very limited features here. And so instead of doing my management from the iPad and from this app, if I need to do it, I do it from a Photon browser, which I'll show you in a moment, but really I just usually do it on my Mac. As for the camera, you may be wondering, why do you have a camera folder on your iPad? Why on earth would you ever want to take photos with your iPad? And I don't know who would. I sure don't, and I do not take photos with my iPad. However, I do use a lot of the features quite a bit. I use the Photos app all the time because I have an iPad connection kit, and so when I take photos from my Fuji X10 or from other camcorders that I have, I throw that memory card in and it imports all the photos. Like here's a car shoot I did with our 335XI. So, there's really a lot of nice features from within the iPad for management and for editing. Now, the camera app, as I stated, I don't use. Photo Booth, I very, very seldom use. I use it as a joke and a toy more than an actual utility. And FaceTime was something that I never used to use. However, I'm now using more and more. I probably FaceTime once or twice a week with friends. Now that I've gone to college, I don't see my friends or my old high school friends every day. And so instead of not talking to them, I choose to use FaceTime. And rather than using Skype or a bunch of other methods, most of my friends have iOS devices, be it an iPad, an iPod, or an iPhone. And so I choose to chat with them via FaceTime, and that's how I keep connections with a lot of my friends I don't see often anymore, who are either out of state or at a different university, so on and so forth. I have iPhoto here. I would open this, but I can't because iPhoto does not display correctly when using this AirPlay utility I have. It just goes into this wonky full screen mode, which is a limitation of iPhoto. Now, iMovie, I don't think I've ever opened on the iPad. I have it installed just because I bought it, and it feels weird or wrong for me to have a $5 app made by Apple that I don't have installed. There's tons of apps that I bought that are no longer on the iPad, thousands of dollars worth of apps. It's kind of embarrassing how much I spend on applications, but I keep iMovie there because if for some reason I needed to edit video like that I took on my X10 or something, I could do so, and I'm ready to go. But no, I don't ever use it. Instagram is probably the app that sees the most action here on my iPad. Why? What is so great about Instagram? Well, I'm using Instagram less and less now. I've moved to a service called Hipster, and I still do use Hipster quite a bit. I'm switching back and forth between both of them. But the reason I use Instagram and have really not been able to ditch Instagram is a lot of my friends choose to use Instagram. Not just YouTube friends and Twitter friends that I follow, but actual friends in real life. And so I'm seeing less and less pictures posted on Facebook and more pictures posted on Instagram from all of my friends. So that's who I follow. That's the method that I use to talk and communicate with friends that I both see and don't see. And so that's why I use Instagram. But I have quite a few followers. I have a decent following, and I take a lot of photos. I've taken 505 in the year or so that I've been using it. And I have 1,700 followers, and it's been a lot of fun. Look at this guy. The dude has Red Beats by Drayon and a Derrick Rose jersey. And so my caption was, "The douche detector has verified a match." Hopefully he doesn't see that. He looks like a vicious individual. I'll find out on campus tomorrow if I die. I love you. Stay snazzy. But again, I use Hipster, as I mentioned earlier. There's a lot of really, really nice aspects of Hipster that are not present in Instagram. You have the ability to place text and words on your photos, which is pretty cool. The community on Hipster seems to be a little bit more artistic than that of Instagram. And so I like the photos that people take a lot better, but a lot of my most of my friends, in fact, almost all of my friends do not use Hipster. They use Instagram. So I'm following mostly strangers and people I know from the internet on Hipster. But the reason I also like Hipster is it has a nearby utility, and this allows you to see all of the photos that have been posted around you. Now, it's not picking it up, and I don't know why, because there's usually a flurry of photos, especially on campus. There's probably a couple hundred kids at my school that use this application, or at my university that use this application, and so I'm seeing pictures all the time, kind of real time. And so that's really a lot of fun, and that's how I use Hipster in a social sense that you don't get on Instagram. Snapseed is simply the best way to edit photos on an iOS device. It is not really all that cheap. It's $4.99, which is a little bit steep for a photo editing application, but I can tell you right now, the quality of photos that you're going to get and the quality of edits you get from Snapseed is exponentially better than everything else. I've been a big Snapseed fan ever since it came out. I've moved from Camera Plus. I've moved from so many other utilities, and I always keep coming back to Snapseed. It's not as radical as Instagram and some of the filters you can use in other applications, but this is more real-life editing. You don't put wonky filters on them. You just modify them ever so slightly, be it the alignment or the panning, or you can add filters like drama and vintage and grunge, but they're very, very moderate. They're not super robust filters like you find on a lot of pictures. So let's do vintage here. You can see that it does add a pretty substantial filter, but it's not so much that it totally weirds out the image. And you can change the filter strength along with a lot of other aspects like the brightness or the saturation, and so that's kind of cool. But anyway, that is Snapseed. It's $4.99, and again, I love it. It is my number one way I edit photos on not just the iPhone, not just the iPad, but the iPhone as well. The App Store is on my main home screen because I do use this quite a bit. We have Fatify right here. But I do check the App Store almost every day for featured and new applications and updates, which I do have one. What is it? Brother Eye Print and Scan. I'll show you that in a minute. And a couple of other things. But settings, I also use this all the time because I'm switching Wi-Fi networks. I'm turning Bluetooth on and off. And so I have that there because I don't want to nest it in a bunch of folders where I can't find it. And again, I forgot to mention earlier, Messages. I do use the Messages app quite a bit. Again, because most of my friends have iPhones, I talk to them through this medium. Although I admit, since I have switched to my Galaxy Note, I'm using Messages less and less, and I've kind of switched back to texting. I don't send a ton of messages, probably 30 or 40 a day. I honestly hate messaging people. Maybe not even 30, probably 20 or 15. It depends on the day. But I hate texting. I loved it when I was in junior high and even somewhat through high school. I sent literally thousands of texts a month, and now it kills me, and I can't send more than a couple hundred a month. Just call me. Come on, if you need to talk to me, pick up the phone and press call. I hate texting. Anyway, we have the Crapple folder right here, and these are all the Apple apps that I do not use, like Safari and Contacts and Game Center and iTunes and Notes and Reminders and Maps. I do use reminders on the iPhone because Siri is integrated. So I'll say, Siri, remind me about Amped Band at 35 minutes from now. Or remind me to pick up my sister from school tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. or whatever. So I do use reminders for that. Not as much anymore because, again, I'm back on the Galaxy Note. But when I did, I used reminders quite a bit. But I never use it on the iPad. And since I only use reminders on the iPhone to set reminders through Siri, I don't really use it as a task management tool. I use Clear for iPhone. Anyway, I have Maps as well, and I have Alarm Clock. Now, this is not an Apple app. It actually has like advertisements and all sorts of annoying stuff, but it was free and it works. And this is what I use to wake up in the morning. So rather than buying an app, I don't get why people like want these big fancy apps. These iPads are bright, so I just turn the screen off. I put it to sleep, and so really the only purpose this has is to wake me up on time. I don't use it as a clock or anything. If we move down to the productivity folder, this is where most of my apps find action. I have Paper by 53, which I don't really use, but I have it installed for the beauty and novelty of the application. We can open this here, and I mean, I've drawn one picture. I bought a couple of different tools. The app is free, but if you want tools like a mark or a pen or a paintbrush, you have to buy them, and they're $1.99 a piece. A lot of people don't like this method, but I think it's really great because rather than spending $5 to $10 on an app that you're only going to use certain aspects of, why not charge $5 to $10 if you want the whole thing, but if you only want a part of it, pay $2. I think it's a brilliant idea, but a lot of people don't seem to like it. Nonetheless, you can see that I'm a terrible artist. I just have this app installed because it is simply gorgeous. One of the best looking apps for sure on the iPad. And that's the reason I have it installed. But for actual note-taking, I use Penultimate, and this is what I use in school. I have ditched pen and pencil. I have ditched my MacBook for computing, and all of my note-taking is done on the iPad. Most of it is typed through applications like Pages. However, I do use a lot of it for writing. And when I do handwritten notes for mathematics or other such classes, I use Penultimate. Now, Penultimate is kind of getting on my nerves lately because it is not Retina ready. Additionally, when you put it into this air display mode, it doesn't really work the way I want it to. So I don't use this as much as I use Pages for note-taking, but there you go. Pages, again, I use it for note-taking. I know there are other note applications out there, ones that are more fully featured, but I don't like that. I like easy syndication and syncing between iCloud and Dropbox, and so I use Pages, and it's amazing. It's great. And the way I write my notes in Harvard format is excellent because I don't need a fancy note taker. I don't need a special organizer. I just need Pages and search and find, and I'm set and ready to go. TeamViewer is basically VNC that I don't use quite as much because I choose to use Splashtop instead. And right here I have iBooks. I will admit, for the first time, I have bought and read an iBooks book. It's going to pop up in the middle of the book. I actually did finish this, but I've been searching around for stuff for my examination. But anyway, it's On Gold Mountain by Lisa C. It's a terrible book. Don't read it. But that's aside the point. I really like this book, or I really liked reading this on the iPad because of the Retina display. It was easy to see at night. It worked really well. No, I don't prefer it to the Nook version. Not even close. And no, I don't even prefer it to an actual book. But it is closer than I feel previous iPads were, and I didn't hate reading it on the iPad. However, I would have preferred to read it on the Nook because of the e-ink display. It's just a lot less stressful on your eyes. But the Retina display does make it a lot easier to read on the iPad. Dropbox saves me every single day of my life. This is where I store all of my photos, or excuse me, not all of my photos, all of my school documents and a lot of my photos. I know Google Drive is out. I might check it out, but probably not because Dropbox works so well for me. I mean, there's no reason for me to switch over. This is where I keep all of my school documents. It's really easy. I prefer using Dropbox over other methods like Box.net. It just works. There's never any problems. I really like the desktop client, and the iPad and iPhone client are really fully featured. So I use Dropbox. If you're not using Dropbox, you're an absolute nut, and you have to start using it right now. Air Display I'm not going to open because that's going to mess up this this little video I'm doing. But what Air Display allows me to do is make my iPad a secondary monitor. Oops, sorry, I rotated it. It allows me to make my iPad a secondary monitor for my MacBook. I'm going to be doing a review on this. It doesn't work perfectly, but it's pretty darn good. And I've really liked sticking my email client or my Twitter feed inside of the iPad's display. So it's there for me to use, but it's out of the way on my Mac. Now, this is Splashtop, and Splashtop is simply, in my mind, the best way to do VNC. Now, VNC, if you don't know what that means, allows you to control your MacBook or your Windows PC from your iPad or iPhone or Android device wherever you are in the world. It's amazing. It works fantastically, and I use it almost each and every day. One of the main reasons I use it is, well, there's two main reasons. A, I type something up on my MacBook and go, oh crap, I forgot to put that on Dropbox, or oh crap, I forgot to email that to myself. And so rather than stressing out and freaking out and calling home and saying, oh, Mom, hope you're home, I want you to do this, all I have to do is access my Mac from my iPad anywhere around the world, in this case on campus, and I can fetch my document and send it to Splashtop. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. It's great. Additionally, I use it a lot because videos, if you're not aware, take a long time to render, especially long ones that Snazzy iPhone guy does. So what I do is I'll initiate a render, and let's say I have to go do something. I will leave the house and let the Mac keep rendering, but I know it's going to be done before I get home in 5 hours, and I want to start uploading it so you guys can see it sooner. So I'll pull up Splashtop on my phone, and I navigate to the file, and when it's done rendering, I drag it onto the YouTube upload window, put all the information in from that VNC, and I'm ready to go. It's excellent. I love it, and Splashtop is simply better than other methods out there. I've tried a lot of them. And Splashtop is the one that I always stick with. It works really, really well, and it's super cheap. It's like $3 versus a lot of other ones that are $20, $30. The Elements is a really great app that's not Retina ready. I used this a lot when I was taking chemistry 2 years ago when I had my first iPad. I don't really have any use for it now, but it was $10 back in the day. So again, as with iMovie, I felt like I should probably have it installed just because. But no, I don't really use it. But it's a really neat app. There's a lot of cool features, and I like using it. But it's not of much use to me anymore. Elements is an app that I use all the time on my iPhone, not so much on my iPad. What Elements does is it brings Markdown to your iPad, and there's a lot of different applications that do this, and from what I've heard, Elements is not the best anymore. However, the reason I use Elements is because it's one that I bought. It was $5, and again, so I felt like I should have it installed, and it really, really works. If you don't know what Markdown is, it's amazing. It allows you to write in raw text, but also add stylistic additions to your notes and to your stuff. So rather than having to navigate and find, the bullet point, you just start a list with drop-down language. It's developed by John Gruber of Daring Fireball. But for example, I could do a star, hello, and then another star. And what this does, if I do it in Markdown, is that puts it in italicized in text. If I do a double star, so there's just different ways you can create stylized text without having to use, a WYSIWYG editor. So that's what I choose to use for my Markdown writing, and I do write almost everything in Markdown, even if it's not a Markdown enabled app. Anyway, I really like it. I might move to Byword, but I don't know. Analytics HD is what I use to check all of my website statistics. Adblock I showed you a couple weeks ago that allows you to block incoming ads on your iPad, be it in the browser or really any application at all. Brother iPrint and Scan is something I use a lot more than I thought I would. It's free, and I have a Brother network printer in my home. What this app allows me to do is I can either choose a photo from my photo album and print it. I can find a website through this little built-in web browser and print it. I can take text from my clipboard and print it, or I can, put something on the scanner bed on my scanner, on that little printer downstairs, and rather than having to put it on my Mac and then put it on my iPad, I just scan directly onto my iPad. This can then go to really any application. If it's a file that is readable by, Camera Plus or whatever, I can do it there. Or if it's a photo that's read by Pages, I can do it there. If it's a photo that I want to change to OCR, I can do that, all from my iPad, and it really, really works well. It's free, and if you have a Brother network printer, you might want to check it out. My model is the MFC 96 or J. You guys can rate it. I'm not going to tell you. I have Wolfram Alpha. This thing is freaking amazing. It helps you with math. It helps you with really anything in the world. I mean, I could say population of Salt Lake City, Utah, and it pulls up the population of Salt Lake City, Utah, which is pretty sweet. Actually, it didn't do it. I might have to spell Salt Lake City out. But you can see the population of Utah is 2.7 million people. But there's tons of stuff you can do. You can find weather, you can convert units of measurement, you can find engineering formulas and chemistry formulas and physics. It's freaking amazing. And if you've never used Wolfram Alpha, you're missing out. OnLive Desktop is something that I had installed and I don't use so much anymore, but I do like it when I need it. Now, OnLive, as many of you know, is this online gaming service, and I do use OnLive to do all of my gaming, but OnLive Desktop is something that's very, very different. It allows your iPad to control a VNC'd Windows environment. So rather than controlling my Mac, this is controlling a virtual machine on OnLive servers. But what I can do is I have the full Office suite here: Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Explorer. So for example, I don't have Pages installed on my iPad. Or I do have Pages installed, but let's say I don't have Numbers installed. Well, I can just use Microsoft Excel, and it opens and it's ready to go, and I can do all of this input through my iPad. No, it's not ideal, but it works, and it's fully fledged. It's not a condensed, mobilized version of an Office app. I mean, this is Microsoft Office as you know it. It's really, really good, and it's free. So if you're going to want to need that, I would check it out. It's come in handy a couple of different times. Calculator Pro, it beats me why Apple does not include a calculator app for the iPad. It seems ridiculous. This is a free one. Yes, there are ads, but I mean, it's just for simple computations. And, I use it all the time, and it's great, and it's free, so you can't go wrong with that. But I don't know why Apple includes crap like Contacts and Game Center and, Notes, where they don't include other applications that I use more often. I mean, it seems kind of weird. They don't have that included. They don't have weather. It just seems like, if there was a device to put that on, it'd be the iPad. So it's kind of weird that that's not there, but it isn't, and so I use Calculator Pro. Cloud2Go is an iPhone app that I use on my iPad. When I want to upload a picture in very, very high quality and not crappy TwitPic or Imager quality, I use Cloud2Go. It's a client that integrates with Cloud App, and it's great, and I love it. I also have two commerce apps. I have Square and Register here. I do use Square quite often because I do run a local business, and so I can swipe credit cards remotely, and it's excellent, and I don't have to have a terminal and all that other stuff. I mean, I can do it right from my iPad, which is great. Let's move on to the audio section. I have 5 audio apps, which I use relatively often. I have Mog, Downcast, Music, GarageBand, and Spotify. I am both a Spotify and Mog subscriber. I use Mog 90% of the time because Mog simply streams in better quality. They stream in 320 kilobit per second MP3, whereas Spotify only streams in varied MP3. Now, some people will say, no, they stream in 320. Actually, they don't, and you've been conned by Spotify into thinking that they do stream 320 kilobit per second MP3. Because guess what? They don't. Spotify has a lot of their songs, and by a lot I mean a couple million, which is nothing compared to their 18 million song catalog, but they have a couple that are in 320 kilobit per second MP3, and for a lot of them, they're actually upgrading, or they're not even upgrading, they're re-encoding the old files to a bigger file size so that theoretically they're 320 kilobits per second, but there's 0 fidelity gain, which should be illegal. I can't believe it's not. It's a total red herring. It's dishonest marketing, and I hate Spotify, but their catalog is bigger, and I like their iPad app, which is why I do have that installed. But for the most of my music listening, I use Mog, and Mog has a really, really pretty new iPad app, which works excellent. And I like it, but Mog is owned by Beats by Dre now, so I might have to stop using it. Well, it's in the process of being acquired. I also have Downcast, and Downcast is really, really good. It's a podcast client for iPad. On my iPhone and on my Android phone, my Galaxy Note, I use Pocket Casts, and Pocket Casts, as far as I'm concerned, is better than everything else. But I do use Downcast on the iPad because Pocket Cast is not optimized for the iPad. Music, I don't use this a lot. I do use it a little bit more often than some of my other stuff, though, because, well, apparently not since I've restored it. I do use it a little bit more often than I do on my iPhone because this has AirPlay functionality, and it also has iTunes Match integrated. So I do use that quite often. Obviously not since I've restored my iPad, which was about a week ago, but so I only have a couple albums on here. But anywho, there you go. And I have GarageBand, as those in Britain would say. I have GarageBand to kind of throw my own beats together. It's more of a toy than an actual audio useful application, but I do use that. Entertainment, I have Hulu Plus, we all know about that. Netflix, we all know about that. Videos, we all know about that. Band of the Day. I do really like Band of the Day. It's a pretty interesting application that allows you to kind of see, well, a band of the day. Each day they feature a new band, and it hasn't been downloaded. I use this on my iPhone, not so much my iPad, but you can not only look at that band, but you can play their music, and it's really kind of cool. They have videos, bios, and it's kind of neat being able to discover and find out about new bands. So, anywho, there you go. It's free, I'm pretty sure. It might be $1, but I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it's free. And I like it. So Band of the Day is something that I do use every once in a while. But I usually use it on my iPhone, not my iPad. Wonders of the Universe has to be one of the best apps. And I'm saying this right now. It is the best iPad app you can get. It's developed by the BBC. And it's Brian Cox's Wonders of the Universe, which is amazing. This is one of the best apps you can get for iPad. And it throws you into this introduction thing, which I don't like every single time. But we could go to, say, let's do Subatomic here. And what this allows you to do is see a bunch of different videos, a bunch of different articles about this subatomic life. And you can really go through everything in the solar system. If I slide this up right here, I can see really beautiful diagrams and pictures. I can read text, and I can watch videos if I have Wi-Fi on, which is really, really nice. It's a very, very well done app, beautiful graphics, and it's really, really cool learning about space, which is still, even to this day, I think the freaking coolest thing ever. And stupid governments not giving any money to NASA. But that's aside the point. Wonders of the Universe, this is not super cheap. It's like $6.99, I think. But it's a really, really well done app, and I've loved using it on the iPad. Azul Media Player is something that I have, and I use this more than the videos application on the iPad because a lot of my videos are not encoded to the iPad. Either they're ripped DVDs or ripped Blu-rays, and because of this, they're not in a format that the iPad natively reads. And so rather than have to re-encode them to a crappy, huge quality that's inefficient and stuff like that, I just re-encode them to whatever, I encode them to whatever quality I want, or whatever file format I want. It's usually AVI or MKV, but I'll do that, and what I can do is Azul will re-encode these videos live real time. So it can read these formats that are not native to the iPad. And I really, really like it. So here's the Jetsons movie. Oh, it's an amazing movie. But anyway, that's Azul for iPad. I think that's $1.99. Well worth it if you either rip or acquire. I'll leave it at that. Lots of movies. TV Premium was amazing until yesterday when, it's working again. Never mind. I made my video on this the other day, and Apple took it off the App Store, but the developer seems to still be supporting it, which is pretty sweet of him. We'll see how long that lasts because I'm sure the bandwidth is very, very expensive. Games, I'm not going to go through all of those, but I will show you and highlight a couple of my favorites. We have Modern Combat 3. Don't love it. It has great graphics, but I don't love that type of gaming, especially not on the iPad. Where's My Water is a great game, but I haven't really played it on this iPad because I beat it on my iPhone. Cannibal is an excellent game. Hungry Rabbit is an excellent game. Puzzle Juice is probably my favorite app on the iPad. And the reason I love Puzzle Juice so much is what it allows you to do is... Come on. I had to reinstall it the other day because it was having problems. But what you can do... and the volume's playing. Let's do hard mode. It's like Tetris and Boggle together. You have these blocks that you have to line up, and when you have 3 of a certain color, you can tap it and it turns into letters. You then are required to spell... there's not really a word I can do in here, so let me try and make a match. You have to spell a word in order to get those tiles to go away. So it's like Tetris on crack because it's Boggle involved as too. So it's pretty cool. I like it, and I use it all the time. And it's a really, really fun game you should check out. I think it's $1, and it might be $1.99, but in any case, you should still buy it. Buy it if it's $10. It's that good. Muffin Night, I displayed this in a video before. Gravity Rock's done that in a video before. Whale Trail is a really, really excellent game. I don't play it as much anymore because it just has grown boring, but I still do really, really like it. Bike Baron is my favorite non-puzzle game for the iPad. I beat this on the iPhone already, but I'm playing it again on the iPad because I like it so much. It's really, really, really well done game. It's a lot of fun. And, you know, I think it's a couple bucks. In any case, you should still check it out because it's just crazy fun. And this level is really hard. But anyway, there you go, Bike Baron for the iPad. Edge is a great game. That's Edge Extended. That is the iPad version. Pulse, which has not been Retina updated, which kills me. I did a video on that about a year ago. When the iPad 2 first came out. Supersonic HD is a lot of fun. That's a lot like Boost 2, which I also have. They're almost identical, but they do have a little bit of stylistic changes, so I do play both of those. Hearts, I play all the time. I love the game of Hearts, and so I play all the time. Hearts Plus is the best one I've used. A lot of the AI is really, really crappy in most of the apps, and while it's not as good as people or players who know what they're doing, Hearts is better than everyone else. Draw Something I really have not opened in months because I'm sick of it and I hate it, and I should probably just uninstall it. But anyway, Real Racing 2 HD, I bought that because I wanted to see how good the Retina display was, not because I really like the game. I really, really don't like the game, actually. Circadia is a great game, but I feel like it's a little bit overhyped. Angry Birds Space, yes, I did buy that. I've only played like 4 levels. I'm really bad at buying games and then not finishing them. Clear Vision I beat. It's a great port of a Flash game, which you should check out. Rinth Island, I've played a little bit. I bought it about a week ago and just haven't had time due to finals to really play it. But Jetpack Joyride I like. It's free. It's decent. You should check it out. Sportigo is a really, really great side scroller. It reminds me a lot of Zelda. And so I've played that quite a bit, and it's pretty fun. Sonic Racing is a classic. Zombieville 2 is a classic. 9mm is another game that just has really, really great graphics, so I started playing it to kind of check those out. Cloud Patrol, Skylanders Cloud Patrol is a really, really awesome game. I've had a lot of fun playing. I haven't played it as much as I probably should before I start doing a review on it, but I have been playing it quite a bit because it is pretty darn fun. Max Payne, haven't really played much of that. I never played the first Max Payne, so I'm not super into that so far. Maybe once I get a little bit further into the story. I just don't love first-person shooters on the iPad because the controls are so mediocre. Even good controls are still mediocre. So Spell Tower is another app I'm going to show you really quickly because this is tied with Word Puzzle as my favorite freaking app ever. And this is another word game. It's like, I don't know, there's a couple different modes, but what you have to do is you have to create words here. The longer the word, the more points you get, and you're really just trying to get the highest score every time. You don't play against anyone else, you just try and beat your own score, and it's a really, really well executed game, and I've had a lot of fun playing it, so you should check that out. I really enjoy playing it, and it's more of a thinker than a fast-paced game, but nonetheless I do like it, and it's a lot of fun. So there you go. We also have DH Reloaded Deer Hunter. I just got this because it was the free app of the day. It's an alright game, don't love it. And Shark Dash I got from Gameloft. Again, this is a really fun game, but I feel like it's kind of overrated. The graphics are not Retina ready, which is really pretty annoying. I should have expected that from a game, and I think you should expect that from any new game. There shouldn't be a new game without Retina graphics, but Shark Dash just doesn't have those, and it bothers me. Next, we move on to Alien Blue. I do like Reddit. I don't use Reddit all the time. Like, I'm never commenting on Reddit, but I do use the app. Well, this is a third-party app, but I do read the front page and the technology sections of Reddit because Reddit finds news faster than even tech blogs. So I love reading Reddit. It's really great, and this app is really, really well done. If you're even moderately interested in Reddit, you should check out Alien Blue. It's a super great app. I think it's $2.99, but boy, is it worth it. Hungry Hippo. That's awesome. They're making fun of the new... What are they? Oh man, what's the new movie Battleship. It's like a game made into a movie. Hungry Hippos. That's great. I would go pay to see that. So Reddit's a lot of fun. Great way to waste time. 1Password is an iPhone app I use on the iPad. There is an iPad version, but I don't want to buy it. It's another $10, so I just use the iPhone version I bought before. I use 1Password every day. 1Password is my #1 app on the Mac. It's a password management tool. I don't know a single one of my passwords. My YouTube account password is a 50-character string of numbers, symbols, letters in different cases and formats, and I don't know it at all. What I do is I use 1Password to automatically fill that in for me. This way it's a lot more secure. I have one master password that unlocks my all other passwords, and my master password is really, really difficult as well. But That way, I don't have to remember email and usernames and all that other crap that is associated with websites. And I don't have to trust that my browser will remember that stuff, because a lot of the time that password remember utilities in Safari and Firefox don't work anyway. So I use 1Password. It's from Agile Bit Solutions. It's $50 for the Mac app, $49.99, and there are iOS apps for like $10 and $15 a piece. But boy, is it worth every penny. Flipboard I don't use a lot because I acquire my news from elsewhere, but I do check it every once in a while, mostly to see what people in my Twitter feed have been talking about. And I like it, but again, I don't use it a lot. It's a very beautiful app. I can really respect it, but it's just not something that I use day to day. Pocket and Instapaper are something that I do use day to day. And Pocket I don't really use all that often, but Instapaper I use every day without fail. I just read like almost all of my stories, so I don't even think I have any. I have two. But anyway, it's a read it later client. And if you don't know what this means, you can go to a website and there's a bookmarklet in your Mac or on your iPad, or there's a lot of third-party apps that also integrate with it. And let's say it's a really great article, but there's ads surrounding it. It has a crappy typeface. It's spread around 7 pages. That's the worst when articles are like on page 1. Now go to page 2 and page 3. Oh, that's annoying. What this does is it strips all the ads. It strips all of the crap you don't need and focuses on the image and the text of the article. You can change the font size and the typeface and the background, and it just creates for a really, really amazing reading experience. Additionally, once it's downloaded, so you don't need to worry about everything else. I mean, it all works. So you can go on the train when there is no Wi-Fi and you just start reading, and it's really, really good. This is developed by Marco Arment. This is $5. And I am going to do a Read It Later showdown of all the Read It Later clients, including Pocket and Readability. The reason I keep going back to Instapaper is it just works better. It's not as pretty, it's not as flashy, but it's faster, it's more usable, and it's more stable than both Pocket and Readability combined, which is why I use Instapaper and why I believe that it is well worth the $5, even though there are options out there that are free. Photon Browser. I talked about this a little bit earlier. Why do I use this over, say, Safari? Well, there's a couple of reasons. The first reason being that this allows you to view Flash content. Now, it does it a lot better than a lot of other Flash-based browsers, but there's not like a Flash extension like there is in Android apps, where it's actually downloading the HTML and then it has a Flash player. This is a direct VNC. So what I could do is I could go to youtube.com, and right now this is loading locally on my iPad, okay? But if I type this little lightning bolt, it connects to a VNC. And so now I'm using a computer that's on some server somewhere. And you can see the quality is a little bit less good, but this way I can watch 1080p videos. I can watch really nice videos without having to navigate through all that stuff. But I am basically controlling a PC, so it's not as good as the regular way of viewing things, but I like that because it's one browser. Unlike a lot of other stuff out there, unlike Skyfire, where it has to figure out what content is Flash and then send it to you, this just, you interact with it. It works like a desktop would. Conversely, it works a lot better than iSwifter and other apps because you're not always in that less good VNC. You can move to an HTML version where it is cached on your Mac, and other stuff where it is clean, where it is fast. And so that's what I like doing, and that's, this is what I use. Additionally, you can change user agents. So I can pretend to be Chrome or Firefox or Internet Explorer, so I don't get like the mobile version of websites, which I hate. So there you go. Photon I think is $2.99, but it's well worth it. And as far as I'm concerned, it's the best Flash-based or Flash integrated browser that there is. Mail, I use each and every day, and I love Mail. Facebook, we all know about Facebook. And Echophone. I've been using Tweetbot forever on the iPad. I don't like Tweetbot on the iPhone, but I think it's great on the iPad. But I moved to Echophone just to try something out. Someone asked me a question about Echophone, and I wanted to make sure that what I remembered was correct. And holy cow, do I really, really like it. It's not quite as good as Tweetbot in a lot of respects, but there are a lot of things that I really do prefer. And so that's why I use Echophone over Tweetbot. And there you go. The only folder left is my church folder, and church folder is just filled with a bunch of church stuff, from scriptures to hymns. There's not a whole lot to it. It's pretty basic and pretty easy, but a lot of people, at least one question every video is like, what's in that church folder? It's just stuff that you can get in the App Store. My church does a bunch of apps, and so there's all the hymns, there's all our scriptures, which is really handy. LDS Tools allows me to figure out all of the people in my ward, it's like a complete directory, which is really handy because I don't have to look through the phone book and crap for people I'm trying to find and talk to and make sure stuff is correct. Mormon channel just has a bunch of videos and all that other stuff. Scripture Mastery, Bible videos, LDS colors, it's all pretty basic. The code, I recommend that you check out and download even if you're not Mormon, or even if you're not even religious, because it's a really, really great story, and it just is a really, really well done ebook. It just is interactive. It's a lot of fun. I really like the usability behind the app, and it's a really great story. So you should check it out, but it's great, and it's free. So all these apps are free, and they allow me to not have to carry around tons of books and stuff. I just carry around an iPad instead. But that's me, Quinn. That's Snazzy iPhone Guy, and that is what's on my iPad. I hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully there's a couple of apps in there that maybe you hadn't seen before that you're interested in. And if not, well, sorry, that was worthless and a waste of your time. I'm Quinn of Snazzy Labs. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, stay snazzy. See you later, folks.